bras a lot, so when I do, they get exciting. Okay, so this video is, hey, it's kind of like for Cynthia, but for anyone. It's a chapter in my book as well, the day that my father died. So my dad died May 1st, 2017. And this was after a 2-year being a medical miracle, literally every day for 2 years. He had a massive brain clot stroke. I always fuck up saying this. He had a stroke, a clot in his brain stem, the size of a golf ball. And that caused a stroke. So he never left the hospital. There was actually several hospitals. But he never left hospitals for 2 years. He never got swallowing down, so he never ate. Again, he didn't eat for 2 years. Like, we had swallow tests, which would be quite brutal, because he could cough up and stuff. So he had a tube. Anyway, preceding the day he died. So the day he died, another chapter in my book is called One Fish, Two Fish, Three Fish. Well, you'll have to see it in the book. So in 2017, one of my fish died. I've had betta fish my whole life. They don't die on me, okay? And I was living in a townhouse in Beverly Hills that one of my students was helping me pay for. I had just not renewed. February 24, 2017 was 3 years. I opened my studio February 4, 2014. 2013. 2-4, I always had 2-4-1-4. 2014. So renewing the lease 2017 to renew, I had decided that because my father Whitney was not allowing him to come here. I was running the business by myself, the studio. I had flown by that time 37, 38 times. And it was like, I was waking up every morning and like I remember there'd be like a second where I was like, am I in Savannah or am I in LA? And then it was like, how's dad or whatever. Every time I called, my heart sank because you never knew. Or he would call me like shortly before, I can check the date on the hospital thing, but a month before he passed away, the fucking awful place that he was at called Statesboro, and it's in Statesboro, sorry, it's called Westwood, if it's even still open. And Whitney wasn't paying, Whitney was the power of attorney, she wasn't paying the bill. It's like every time I went there, the nurses were yelling at my dad about payment when he was supposed to be learning how to breathe. And then they were gonna make him a ward of the state at one point, and it was just like crazy. It was his own money, She wasn't having to pay out of her own pocket. No one was. My uncle once paid $2,500 and refunded himself at the end of the week. I paid $108,000, and including money for food, sometimes money to the place. One time they were telling me that they call and they say, we're gonna cut your father's food off the food place. And I'm calling my uncle like, what the fuck? I go, oh, he's like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Whitney said, that's not true. Ashley's saying that's not true. I paid $900 to not have his food cut off twice. Anyway, so at the end of this 2 years, it was intense. Like, I lost the fish, which doesn't happen, and it made me so sad. Then I lost my home. No, I lost my studio. And there was a long story about my house. Like, it was the place that I was renting. I was subletting, and the guy was paying like $1,200 for this like place that was like easily the owner could have gotten $3,500. So the guy was like banging on my door. I was like, I'm just a friend. The whole thing I was to say, I'm just like staying for a little bit, because the guy was like in Montreal forever, and he didn't want to like lose his place, and he also didn't want to lose the rent control price. It's like on Colgate and whatever, Colgate near whatever, nice place. So this guy was like wanting to get $3,500. The guy got the lawyers, the owner, the guy that had rent control, that was my student's friend that let me rent it out, actually got a lawyer for me. You know, I didn't have the money to fight to let me stay there. And anyway, so I lost my studio, I remember, because I didn't renew the lease, and I taught my last class like February 17, 2017. A fish died with that. We had to move everything into my place, and I was glad I had like enough space. There was like yoga mats, and this was heart-wrenching, you know? Like, I decided that I wasn't gonna renew the lease, albeit I didn't have the money to renew the lease, and there was a lot of arguments about that. But I also was sort of even though it was heartbreaking and all this shit was happening so fast, I was relieved because I was gonna get to my dad and not have to, you know, do this whole cross-country thing. And another fish passed away, and I was like so sad. And then the decision was made on the 31st of April. So the next day was May, and I had been conned into moving in with this person. This is what I showed my sister. The videos, one of the only reasons I remember that I have this channel is the videos on this channel that show this guy destroying property. He takes a knife to a painting of my father's. He destroyed my singing bowl. He took pairs of shoes of mine, and like, if you go down, you can look, and oddly, they're like the ones that have the highest views, but his lawyers tried to take them down before court. And I had this amazing, so many angels, this amazing detective that fought back with me. And so this guy's name is Omen Ferdosi. So he's like, shows up. This is the only other experience I have with somebody that I think is like my sister. But so he shows up and like helps me and stuff. And he's like, just, you can move into my place. My dad was like hanging on for dear life, you know? And I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't know how fucking crazy he was. So I move into his place and move all my stuff there. Everything, my dog. I was just like, so that it was just him and me. Actually, my friend that was my girlfriend that was supposed to help and have another car. I don't have a car still at this point. Have another car at least. Doesn't show up. And like, I learned, anyway. The bottom line is, so it wasn't very long. Oh, the very next day. So my studio was closed like a month before that, and I was teaching. I had zero legal liability, but anybody that had packages or whatever at my studio, I said, if you want to, my ex-husband was like the money person. He didn't pay anything after we split in 2014. I carried that place by myself, and it did well. But, you know, at the end, he was 50-50 partner. I couldn't sell any of the business without him, and he was like drunk and fucking, you know, Davos or some shit. But, so this guy gets so fucking crazy. I can't even tell you. Like, okay, so when I spoke to my sister over, it's another video I'll do, over Christmas, I showed her this, and it's her restraining order. Ashley Cummings, at that time I was staying somewhere else, signed by a judge. Still valid, by the way. They extended all of them after for COVID. Bitch, if you're stalking me, and you're not allowed to be watching this channel either. But when I show this to Whitney and she goes, oh my God, I spent so much money on him. I was like, I gave him so much money. I was like, that's like one reason You need to, of so many, that you need to honor our Father's wishes. But, okay, so I woke up at Omens and the tapestry, the red tapestry that I have, that my dad bought for me before I was born, it was like one of the only things he thought might save me. I didn't know at this point that he changed his will. I didn't know that all this art that was mine in Miami, a gift to me while he was alive, that when Whitney brought me out here, like, to go to rehab, Stuart Posner was holding all of my art. And after my dad died, that was the other thing he did that week. He called Stuart Posner and said, make sure Ashley gets her art. And then when my dad passed away, he like got a probate attorney. He wanted Whitney and Kevin to sign that they wouldn't sue him for giving me my fucking property. I was like, and they just ignored it. Anyway, the day my dad died, I woke up to a text that he had wrote, like he took an Uber, and that's a different story, because he couldn't stand it anymore. He was fighting for his own money and how to use it, like without being able to breathe. And for 2 years, you have to imagine, we lost him like 1.5 times. So yes, he had already gotten to Fort Lauderdale, which was absolutely crazy and never should have happened. He called my sister and said, I'm going to take an Uber to Fort Lauderdale. She said, I can't stop you. She was the only motherfucker that could. I woke up to a text that I still have where he told me to sell the red tapestry. I think it was for $37,000 or something. He was trying to like make sure I was okay. And I was teaching classes at Plummer Park after the studio closed. Oh yeah, I said to people that have packages, if you want to practice with me, there's a park next door to the studio, and I'll be teaching for free to honor your classes. If you want cash, I gave them my ex-husband's cell phone number. So the day my dad died, I had my phone turned off for my like 11 or 12 to 1:30 class in the park. There was like 4 regulars. I remember Amber was there. And I checked my phone after class and I saw like my brother had called from London like 5 times. My sister didn't call. My aunt, like 2 of my aunts called. I just knew. And I had actually an interview at another studio. I was like trying to get another job, you know, at Aura Yoga. I remember like, it was so fucking surreal. I remember calling my brother and he goes, Ashley, our father has left the prison that was his body. Something. And I was just, I asked Amber to please stay with me. And I was just like, I remember getting in an Uber and like, my brain was like, so, you know, I remember being like, do I still go to this interview? No, I can't. But I don't know really what to do. Like, the best way I could explain it, and I have it in the book like this, like, my dad and I were a team, you know? Like, every day, whether I was there or not, like, you okay? Yeah, you okay? Like, there'd be a couple seconds when I would say before in the morning where I was kind of like, I would sometimes not remember his situation, and then it was, but I, like, Amber, like, hugged me, and I got in the Uber, and I, like, texted Maurizio. I was looking for that guy's name for so long, like, a month ago, I couldn't remember. The owner of Aura Yoga, and I said, I'm not gonna make it to the interview. I was like, I already had the job, he just wanted me to like go over his schedule. I was like, I'm not gonna make it to the meeting. My father just died. And it was always, everything felt so fucking surreal. And I walked into Fuckface's house, and I just remember being like, my dad just died. And I like, he gave me like a hug. And I was just like, it felt like I was in like on the front line, you know, like I've been like fighting, like it got so gnarly, like a lot of it I probably won't really like access, like, oh, there'll be a second book just about that. But I felt like I woke up on the front line, and my partner, like the person that was like, you know, my comrade, was like not there. And like the war was over and I was by myself. And I didn't know like really what to do. And then things just kind of... Anyway, my dad was an amazing man. He is. I still feel his energy a lot. Like in the last 4 years, that is May 1st, that he went, I now say he took his red Mustang to heaven. Or Cynthia, if you remember that little MG that he could barely fit in. I feel so blessed and honored to have had him as a father. And I feel so blessed and honored to know that we did the best we could with everything we had and everything we did not have. And I'll always be so grateful for the last 2 years of his life and also every second that I had him as my dad. He is the most amazing man on the planet. Happy Father's Day to all of you guys. It's my throat chakra. There's really nothing more special and more important than being there. Like my self-confidence, my resiliency, my ability to get through everything is all because of my father and because he loved me unconditionally, and that gave me the self-esteem to do a lot of things. You know, any anger and intensity, like I'm a Leo, I'm also my father's daughter. It's like, it's you know, I'm a warrior like he was. I'm a fighter like he was. But I choose the path of the least resistance, and I am a white flag. But if you come at me, I will defend myself. And I will not lose. That's not a threat, it's a promise. All right, love you guys. I hope that you're having a happy Saturday.